Good afternoon, everyone. This is Mondays with Vish. He's Vish Kumaran, the star of the show. I'm Grant Cohn. We've been doing this for a few weeks, and we've developed a little bit of a pattern, especially for home games. I go to the game, I cover the game, the Niners lose, I rant and rave afterward, and then in the morning, Vish and I talk it through calmly, reasonably, and try to find out exactly what's going on, if it's as bad as it seemed the night before. And usually it isn't, but today, I don't know, it might be. Vish, what are your thoughts broadly on what happened yesterday at Santa Clara?
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to mince words here. That was about as pathetic as I've seen a good, or what was considered to be a good Niners team perform and play in a game that really meant a lot. Now, my overreaction for that game is probably going to come next week, because I'm still holding out, because I think that there is maybe a chance for this team to bounce back. But let's leave next week aside. Yesterday was about as bad as it gets. And there's really not a position, a player, much you can say anything positive about. The Niners were outcoached. They were outplayed. They were out-executed. They looked
in all three phases.
Yep.
In all three phases. It was
all three phases.
At home.
All three phases.
Against a 1-3 team.
Absolutely. And that team looked like they were playing for something, while the Niners looked like a team that had already lost their entire season, which is really disconcerting because we're 4 weeks into the season with a team that has not had most of their roster. So if anything, they should feel confident. Hey, we're 2-2 with all these injuries, but yesterday didn't feel that way.
Okay, so this team, I think we all feel that there's something off with this team. Like the confidence isn't there that they had last year. What do you attribute that to?
I think there's a genuine drop-off in the leadership, and some leaders left and some leaders are injured. Let's start with Joe Staley. His retirement, I think he was the pulse of this team. I think he was a great leader for this team. I think he was a consummate professional. I think he was a great voice for this team. I think when Frank Gore left this team, Joe Staley was the new Mr. 49er. He stood for everything that this franchise is supposed to stand for at their best, and he retired. And look, his replacement, Trent Williams, is allegedly a better player than him, but I don't know. Does Trent Williams bring the same intangibles as Joe Staley? I don't know. Now, I'm not.
Let's be real specific. Like, I think what Staley's leadership manifested, the way it manifested itself, is called keeping players accountable. Mm-hmm. Meaning, Mike McGlinchey, you're underweight. You got to be X amount of pounds to play right tackle on the 49ers. Mm-hmm. You're 10 pounds underweight. Come on, guys. He was the kind of guy that would make sure everyone was doing the right thing. And from what it looks like on the offensive line right now, no one's holding each other accountable. You heard it with Trent Williams in his press conference last week. There was like, well, what's the issue? He's like, I don't know. I'm playing well. Did you ever hear Joe Staley? He would take responsibility even if he maybe felt that, I don't know, I'm playing well.
Right. And he was as good a leader as the Niners have had in the offensive line. And then they traded DeForest Buckner, just another bring his backpack to work, get down, get ready, and just a grinder, just a guy who works hard, a guy who's going to play every play like his last. He plays hard. He stands for everything of a guy that you want to pay. And look.
And he does it whether you're good or not. Doesn't matter.
Right. And look, I'm not going to say, again, I thought it was an okay decision to not pay DeForest Buckner, but he still is a loss. You did lose something there. Then another guy that people don't talk about, Emmanuel Sanders changed the culture for this offense. Look at the confidence of Kendrick Bourne and Deebo Samuel once Emmanuel Sanders showed up. Emmanuel Sanders is a pro's pro.
Also Jimmy.
Right. He changed life for Jimmy. He's a pro's pro. He does
2 rings.
Job. He's always at the right spot. He does his job. He's mastered the intricate nuances of the position, whether it's playing with late hands or running great routes or knowing when to break off a route or knowing how to make sure the DB doesn't track the ball so you can make contested catches in spite of being 5'10".
Also, he's a 10-year vet and he has 2 rings, so what he says carries weight.
One ring, but he's played in 3 Super Bowls.
Oh, my bad. 1 ring. Okay, you're right. So he's played in 3 Super Bowls.
He's performed. He's performed in big games. He's played with big quarterbacks, and he brought an element. You don't have that. And then the fourth guy is Richard Sherman. Look.
Yeah.
Last week, I made the mistake of saying if there's one player that they could maybe move off of, it was Richard Sherman. You cannot tell me that Richard Sherman would have seen that game, seen where it was going, and just have stood for that.
Yes.
Richard Sherman would have fought. He would have fought with somebody. He would have thrown a fit. He would have said, this is not good enough.
Yeah.
He would not have taken that defeated attitude. And they missed Richard Sherman yesterday, and they missed leadership in general. And the fifth guy who was there, he played yesterday, and that's Jimmy Garoppolo. Everybody says in this locker room that Jimmy Garoppolo is a great leader, and I believe that. I think that while his play has been shaky, his in the locker room leadership and the confidence that he's brought to this team has been one of his biggest strengths. Well, he's not bringing that anymore. And if he's not bringing that, then this team is not feeding off of anybody's confidence or anybody's pulse for that energy.
Right. So we've talked about this before. Like, the 49ers did a lot of losing. They had confidence in Kyle and they competed for Kyle, but they lost. And then Jimmy came here and they started winning. And it was something magical about it. For whatever reason, they won with him, and they felt as long as he was on the field, they could win. They generated their confidence from him. And now, can they still do that? I mean, he's not even confident. And they just got blown out with him on the field. They didn't even compete against a 1-3 team, and he got benched at halftime. Yeah, he was injured, and that's true. But still, I mean, it seems like the mystique is gone a little bit, and they can't be as confident naturally as they used to be.
Look, the injury thing, it could very well be real. I'm not in his body. I don't know how he felt throwing the football, but I'm not going to give him an excuse for how he played just because he was hurt. In my opinion, once you step onto that field, we have to judge you for how you played. And Jimmy Garoppolo was pathetic. There's no other word for it. He was pathetic. And that's the only judgment I can provide today. Now, maybe that ankle was it was just so hurt. He was so hurt he couldn't play, and he heals it up in 2 weeks and comes back and plays great. Then I'll say he plays great. But yesterday, he was pathetic.
Okay, let me ask it this way. Who is the leader of the 49ers offense right now?
Okay, well, the leader should be George Kittle.
It's not, though.
Right.
Would you agree with that?
I don't know what's wrong with George Kittle. I still see George Kittle playing hard. I think George Kittle is still playing great. But there was this special infectious energy to George Kittle. Maybe he's missing the fans. Look, I'm going to give him maybe that excuse.
Also, one thing about George, his attitude is not, he's not like Joe Staley. Joe Staley is stoic and mature. George Kittle looks like a frat guy on the field, which is endearing and cool because he's having so much fun, but he looks like a kid. He seems like a big kid on the field. Like Joe Staley was like a grown man. And it's like, where is that guy on this offense? Right. Trent Williams looks like he could care less. I mean, good player, but it's like, what do the Niners mean to him? He could be on the Raiders next year or any other team. McGlinchey, is he the leader of this team? He's 25 and he stinks.
I think in the NFL, there is, as much as you want to say that your best player doesn't have to be a leader, there is a level of play that you do expect from your leaders. Otherwise, it's really difficult to look at a guy and respect his opinion, even if he is a good leader, a good man, and all of that, because his play is not up to par. And Mike McGlinchey's play has not been up to par this year. For the 9th overall pick in the draft, a guy playing to get his 5th-year option picked up, look, this is awful. Mike McGlinchey looks as bad as he's looked the last 2 years, and he didn't look like an all-pro in his first 2 years anyway.
He looks underweight. He looks like 285 pounds.
Right.
He looks skinny, and he's getting walked back consistently. He's playing with no strength. He's soft. He was better last year. He looked bigger the last 2 years.
Right. To go back to the original point, though, of who's the leader of this offense, theoretically, it should be George Kittle. It should be George Kittle, but I don't see any leadership in this offense at all. Maybe yesterday's game was just a one-off example, and they come back and they bounce back, and when they bounce back, then I'll say their leader stepped up, whoever that leader is. But I don't see it. I don't see George Kittle running over people in the run game, getting everybody hyped up. Where was that guy yesterday?
See, to me, it could be Kyle Shanahan, but it's not. And to me, so I think basically the answer is there isn't one right now. There might be one next week, but through the first 5 weeks of the season, there is not one. So to me, part of being a head coach, it's not just all about drawing up plays and calling the right plays, because Shanahan's good at that most of the time. It's also about cultivating leadership if you don't have it. So his job this week is to, either be the leader. First of all, be the leader right now because it's no one else. And then 2, figure out who he can cultivate as the leader on this offense. Those two things. And I don't know if he's up to it. I don't know.
Agreed.
We'll see. So should we segue into our thoughts on Shanahan, or are you not ready to go there yet?
I'm ready to talk about Kyle.
Okay, you're much more complimentary of Shanahan than I am most of the time. So with that as the context, what are your critiques of Kyle after that game? What do you think of him and what he's doing this season? And that game in particular, and this season in general?
Frankly, I'm disappointed. Look, the quarterback play has been terrible. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
We had 4 good quarters from Nick Mullins and 2 good quarters from Jimmy Garoppolo. Otherwise, the quarterback play has been pretty terrible. But look,
same with the offensive line, same with the pass protection.
Absolutely, it's been bad. But look, when I think about Kyle Shanahan, I'm not thinking about an average coach. I'm thinking of the best coaches. So where I'm disappointed is I thought that this guy was so good that he could overcome all of this. Because look, in spite of the numbers, the quarterback play and the offensive line were that great last year. And he was able to overcome it by changing up his run game and adding, and they had one of the best screen games in football. That screen game was special last year, and we haven't seen that same screen game this year.
No.
So that's where, like, maybe my expectations of Kyle were just too much. But when I think of Kyle, I thought, man, the Niners got a guy who could be the next great coach in the NFL. He's so young, he's so brilliant, all of that, and he seems to really galvanize these guys to play. And after these 4 games, as bad as the quarterback play has been, as bad as the offensive line play has been, I'm left here thinking maybe even Kyle Shanahan doesn't have solutions for this, or maybe other guys would have solutions, and I overrated Kyle Shanahan.
It's really interesting questions. Now, for me, there's one thing that I'm looking at with Kyle. It's the run game. Because to me, it's a run-first team, and he has Kittle, he has Juszczyk, he has Mostert, McKinnon. He's got him. He's got his guys. And if you look at the numbers, they're averaging 5 yards a carry. Mostert's averaging 7 yards a carry. McKinnon's averaging 5.5 yards per carry. Pass protection is awful. The defense is depleted. They need to win the time of possession. There's about 800 reasons for the Niners to look to establish the run early in games and wear teams down with it. I mean, it's how they got through the playoffs. They didn't win games in the playoffs passing. They won games running the ball. And Shanahan used to talk about it. He used to say, this week, we felt we could win if we got to 30 runs. It was a goal they would talk about. We want to get to 30 runs. You know how many times they've gotten to 30 runs this year in a game? Once. Yesterday against the Dolphins, 19 runs. And it's like, okay, they fell down 14-0. Then it was 14-7. Then it was 21-7. You don't have to panic in the first half down 2 scores and just throw out your game plan and go pass happy when you know your quarterback's hurt and you know your offensive line can't pass protect. They finished the first half with 20 called passes, 11 called runs, 3 sacks, 5 quarterback hits. I mean, that was bad for Jimmy Garoppolo. I felt bad for him. And it just seems like, dude, last year, Kyle Shanahan wouldn't have done that. Shanahan was way better last year. He did almost in every game what was necessary to protect Jimmy and win the game. And now in this year, it's like almost like, well, you know what? I'm going to call the game the way I want to call it, and these players are going to execute or they won't.
There's nothing I can disagree with there. I mean, I tend to maybe be a little more reserved in my criticism of Kyle, and so I'm probably going to wait 1 more week before I go there. But at this exact moment, there's nothing I can tell you that, oh, well, he should have done this differently, he should have done that differently, or you make all valid points. The other thing that's frustrating to me about Kyle is the way I see it with the Niners organization is that Kyle is in control of every single thing.
Yeah.
Whether it's personnel, whether it's who they draft, whether it's who they trade, who they sign, who starts
at corner. Yeah.
Right. Kyle Shanahan to me has the biggest say, or a very big say in that. Well, I was really disappointed with a couple of things. Look, the Dante Pettis thing is totally disconcerting. Yes. If you don't believe in Dante Pettis so much that you don't even activate him and you play Kevin White to go do this thing for kickoffs, like Dante Pettis can do this thing. Why have Kevin White go and do this thing? Yeah. Well, if you feel that strongly, why not cut him? Why? What is he doing in this roster? It sets a bad precedent when you just keep this guy around and every day he's taking beatings from people like Grant just because he's on this roster.
Yeah, that's true. Agree. He's like the team punching bag that Shanahan puts up.
Right. Just
please make fun of this guy. Yeah.
Look, what would the best of the best have done? Bill Belichick, it didn't work out with Dante Pettis. He doesn't care if Dante Pettis goes somewhere else and becomes the best wide receiver ever. It didn't work for him. He's going to find a way to make it what works for him work. Chandler Jones has been the leader in the NFL in sacks for years, and they traded him for what? I think a second-round pick?
Yeah.
Is Chandler Jones worth more than a second-round pick? Absolutely, but they've won 2 Super Bowls without Chandler Jones. They didn't care how successful he was in Arizona. And Dante Pettis is nowhere near the player Chandler Jones is. If you don't believe he's your guy, just let him go, move on, and find a way to win with the guys you have.
And I guess that everything you just said about Dante Pettis could apply to the starting quarterback.
Right. Look, I'm not going to get into the whole, does Kyle believe in Jimmy? Does Kyle not believe in Jimmy? Because that's a load of
speculation.
Let's talk facts, okay?
Yeah.
The Jimmy Garoppolo threw the ball 8 times in an NFC Championship game. That run game was dominant. Look, you know what the perception of your team and your quarterback has been for 16, 17 weeks throughout the season. You know what the conversation is going to be if the guy throws only 8 balls in the NFC Championship game after you clearly didn't throw the football for 20 minutes in the Minnesota game. So you know what the conversation is going to be. You know you need him to win the Super Bowl, but you know what the conversation is going to be for 2 weeks about him in the lead up to the Super Bowl. If he throws 15 passes in that game and throws 11 for 15 for 105 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, everybody says the run game was working. He threw 8 passes.
8. Slap in the face. Disrespectful.
Going to come and say, well, he doesn't believe in him. That's what everybody's going to think. And look, I don't know what you believe. I don't know if you think you believe in him. I don't know if you don't believe in him. I don't know if I believe in him. But look, if you don't believe in him, move off of him.
Yeah.
And don't move off of him for CJ Beathard or Nick Mullins. No. You had the option to go get Tom Brady. I mean, you're the San Francisco 49ers. You're Kyle Shanahan. A lot of quarterbacks want to play for you.
Yeah. Okay. So, okay. Let's move on to the next topic. Should the next topic be I think we got to do this in order. Do you think Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be on the team next year? And if not, what is his future?
I have no idea. Look, I've broken this down before and I'm going to do it again. Mm-hmm. The issue with dropping Jimmy Garoppolo next year, it's not a Jimmy Garoppolo issue. At this point, Jimmy Garoppolo is what he is. At his best, he's so-so. Problem is, you have a lot worse than so-so sitting on your bench. You're probably not going to have a top 10 pick. You're probably going to be picking realistically based on yesterday. Let's say you finish as an 8-8 team. You're going to be picking between 12 and 15.
Wait. You think this team's going 8-8?
Let's just say.
Okay.
Let's just say guys come back. There's still enough talent. There's enough pride on this team.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Yeah.
Right. And let's say that's the worst case scenario.
Sure.
For now, based on our preseason prognostications, let's say that's the worst case scenario. Well, are you really going to go into a season with an 8-8 team after you have the highest paid tight end? You have Nick Bosa. You're going to re-sign Trent Williams because Kyle loves the guy. Fred Warner is going to get paid like a top 2 to 3 middle linebacker in football. You're going to pay all these guys and you're going to go into a season with Nick Mullins and CJ Beathard at quarterback. That's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen.
Now,
it's not going to happen. Right. Now, they might go into this. No, hold on. The other option could be they lose the next 7 games because they're beat up and mentally beaten up and they have a gauntlet coming up. They legitimately finish the season 5-11 and actually are in range to pick one of these guys who's coming out because apparently there's like 3 or 4 this year that people like. I'm not into college football like that.
There's Kyle Trask. There's Trey Lance. There's obviously Trevor Lawrence, who's going to be the first pick, and there's Justin Fields. Okay, so there's 4 guys, which means if the Niners go 5-11, theoretically, they might be in position to take one of them. Right, and that's the one option. And then the other option is you just cut Jimmy clean and hope you can land Matthew. Matt Ryan is totally unlikely. And I'm going to be honest with you. Matt Ryan is suffering in Atlanta right now with a lot of the same issues that the Niners have, minus Kyle. Their secondary has nobody. Everybody's hurt. Their offensive line is terrible. He gets hit every single play. He's just missing Kyle, and his receivers are a lot better than the ones that are here. So I don't think Matt Ryan is a solution. Look, you can go the Matthew Stafford route. I like Matthew Stafford a lot, but look, and he's so physically gifted. But if your team is going to retool and all these undrafted free agents that you have so much depth with, and you don't have that many draft picks, then you're not giving Matthew Stafford the 2019 roster. So Matthew Stafford might be playing significantly better than Jimmy, and your team might not be better than 2019.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is, like, I would go with the young quarterback. I think in the NFL today, it's all about having the young mobile quarterback. That's the cheat code to winning. But also I look at the Shanahans and Kyle and Mike, and think, they don't have the track record of developing young quarterbacks. I'm not saying they can't. They just haven't developed a Hall of Famer. They haven't done it.
We have no sample size of Kyle Shanahan's ability to draft quarterbacks.
Scout
we have
and
no
develop.
Right.
No.
And we have no sample size of his ability to develop.
Well, we have some sample size. It's small, but we got CJ Beathard in that sample. So what I'm saying is, knowing Mike's history and Kyle's history, I think Mike did win 2 Super Bowls, 3, including his time with the Niners. And I think Kyle theoretically could win 1 too, although God, he has some self-destructive tendencies. But I think they're at their best if what they do, they go to an organization that has a Hall of Fame quarterback who's being asked to do too much, where the whole thing is you drop back and be a hero. And they're like, no, let's give him a run game. Let's give him a play action game. And that's what they did for Elway. That's what they did for Steve Young. That's what they did for Matt Ryan. I mean, Matt Ryan was just dropping back and throwing to Julio Jones. And what Shanahan did was bring in Taylor Gabriel, Mohamed Sanu, Tevin Coleman, a supporting cast and a run game to keep things off balance. That's what they do well. But their drop back passing, I don't know. I mean, their ability to scout and develop quarterbacks, I don't know. I think you kind of give them one and trust them to give them the right supporting cast.
Look, someone brought up RG3, and they did. I mean, I don't think they actually wanted to draft RG3 because they picked Kirk Cousins in the 4th round. But
that was a Dan Snyder pick.
They did have that one great year for him, but that's not developing a quarterback.
No.
Having one good year with the quarterback and developing a quarterback are 2 totally different things. If you want to see development, look at what Brian Daboll has done with Josh Allen the last 3 years. Look at his growth from year 1 to year 2, and look at his growth from year 2 to year 3. That's developing a quarterback. Having a one-off good season with a quarterback is not the same as developing it. And it comes back to the 2017 draft. Look, Patrick Mahomes, we can say that was not a very obvious selection, though Bruce Arians, Sean Payton, and Andy Reid, 3 guys who are in Kyle's class, at least 2 of them in Payton and Andy Reid are in Kyle's class as offensive play callers, identified Patrick Mahomes as the best player in that draft, not quarterback, player. Yes. Any person with eyes who watched Clemson football that year knew that, wow, Deshaun Watson is different. He is different. Look, I'm not saying I know anything about scouting quarterbacks at the level of Kyle. But what's disconcerting is when you hear the Super Bowl press conference and they ask him, what did you think of Patrick Mahomes before the draft? And he goes, well, I didn't look at him because I was so enamored with Kirk
Cousins.
Like, what?
What?
Shouldn't you be looking at the entire situation and at least considering the possibility that 2 of these guys, look, Kirk Cousins at his physical best is the 9th or 10th best quarterback in the NFL.
Maybe
him playing at his best.
Yes.
And he is really good when he's playing at his best. There's no doubt about that. Kyle is right on about that. But Mahomes and Watson,
is not close. Yeah. Sorry about talking over you right there. You're right.
Yeah, it's worrisome because the entire thing with Kyle is that he sees the whole picture, right? Charlie Casserly talked about it in 2006. He asked wide receivers coach, like 20-something-year-old Kyle Shanahan, who do I take, Mario Williams or Reggie Bush? And he saw the full picture and said, take Mario Williams.
Yeah.
Well, why didn't you see the entire picture to consider and at least scout? Tell me that I liked Mahomes, but you know what? I thought Cousins would be better. That's a valid opinion to me. Okay, you didn't think Mahomes would be as good as Cousins in your offense, whatever. But at least you did your homework with him.
Yeah.
For you to say before the Super Bowl, well, I didn't really study him because I was so convinced on Kirk Cousins. This isn't getting Peyton Manning in his prime. No. This is Kirk Cousins.
Yeah. And he had enough time to study CJ Beathard. So you were like, hey, don't show me the good quarterbacks. Just show me the guys who will be around after pick 100. Like, that's it.
Right.
Don't cut that corner.
Right.
Why don't you give yourself 15 minutes to have the Patrick Mahomes experience? Hey, here's the thing. Maybe he's not under oath. Maybe he did watch Patrick Mahomes and didn't like him. You ever think about that?
Possibly.
You can't say that.
Possibly.
You can't say that.
You can't say that. But look, his best friend, who did his best friend say was the best player in the 2017 draft?
Well, first of all, tell everyone who's watching who his best friend is.
Or his best, Chris Sims, right? Chris Sims is his buddy. I don't know if he's his best friend or what kind of.
No. They have each other's tattoos, each other's initials tattooed on their ankles. That's the truth.
Right.
Keep going.
They're tight. He said that Patrick Mahomes was the best player in that draft. He also said that he doesn't look at CJ Beathard and see the next Kirk Cousins after that draft. He didn't like CJ Beathard.
Nope. Hey, I don't think Kyle's going to Chris Sims asking him his opinion. I think they're both very opinionated people who also are friends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I just think it's worrisome that there were people near him or people he talks to about football, whether he uses their opinion or not, that said, you know what, Patrick Mahomes is really that. And he bluntly said before the Super Bowl that he still didn't take a look at it.
Yeah. Hey, how about Deshaun Watson? I mean, either one. Because it seems to me like especially if you have this level of offensive line that can't block anyone, you need a quarterback who can protect himself.
Look,
unless you have Peyton Manning.
Right, absolutely. Drew Brees in his
prime. Or Drew Brees, or Tom Brady in his prime. That's it.
Because like Jimmy at his best, Jimmy executes the offense at his best. Well, he's not even perfect at executing the offense. He's late sometimes. He misses reads sometimes. Well, if you're going to be an offensive executor, you got to be Peyton Manning, who's perfect.
Thank you.
Brady, who's perfect.
Thank you.
Brees, who's perfect.
Thank you. And that's why I was always kind of bullish on Nick Mullins, is I felt like he had the drive and brain to like perfect the mental part of the game. I don't know if he has the athleticism to actually pull it off. But with Jimmy, I'm like, I'm sorry. For you to be a high-level pocket passer, you need to be much more advanced with your mental game, because that's what made Peyton Manning. I'm sorry. I mean, he had a good arm too, but Peyton Manning was the most brilliant quarterback of all time and could dissect a defense before the play happened. That was what he did.
Agreed.
Yeah. So anyway, I feel like the pocket passer era is over. For whatever reason, guys like Peyton Manning and Tom Brady aren't being developed like that anymore.
Offense has changed, right?
Yeah.
Offense has changed. Like principally, coordinators are making it less about their scheme and looking more for playmakers at quarterbacks. Guys where if the play's not perfect, well, I can scramble outside and buy 2 or 3 seconds and throw a 35-yard laser down the field and bail out a play. Well, you know how much that would help you, Kyle? You don't have to be perfect with your play calls anymore. And even when they are perfect, your quarterback sometimes screws it up. But now if your play call messes up, Deshaun Watson can make 2 guys miss in the pocket and throw a 35-yard deep ball on a rope. That helps a lot.
Yeah, it really does. Kyle, it helps. All right, but before we move on, if the Niners were to move off from Jimmy Garoppolo, we've listed options that they could do. Obviously, if they're in position to draft one of these quarterbacks and they like him, do it. What do they do with Jimmy? Look, real quick, I can't confirm this, but I heard from a reputable source that the rumor around the league was that the Patriots offered the Niners their first, which was like the 19th or something, late, something right around 20 for Garoppolo, and the Niners turned them down. What do you think that Niners would do? Do you think the Patriots would still be interested? Do you think, I mean, they're not going to cut him unless, I guess, he really plays bad the rest of the year. Does he still have value, and where could they trade him?
Look. I don't know if the Patriots would still be interested. I don't know if they were interested. Right? You just relayed a rumor.
It's a rumor. It's a rumor.
And I don't know what the status was. But if they get to a point where it's obvious they're moving off of him, why would anybody offer anything? Why would you trade for him or that contract?
Yeah.
There's like 25. Dude, there's like 25 good quarterbacks in football right now. Like, who ranks Teddy Bridgewater as like a top 15 quarterback? And look at how good he's playing in Carolina.
Right.
There's like 2 good quarterbacks every year in the draft. I feel like we're seeing 2 new guys that we're saying.
It's a buyer's market in ways it wasn't 20 years ago.
Right. When there were only 7 good quarterbacks. So when you're at this point, why would you offer anything to get a guy who's still reasonably talented. I mean, he's got a great throwing motion. He's got a real quick release. There's a few things he does really well. He's pretty accurate. Well, you can just get him. You can just let the Niners cut him if they want to move off of him. Let them show the conviction to cut him. You don't need him. Sign him for $5 to $8, $10 million as a backup. And if you're not convinced with your starter, and he could maybe be the Ryan Tannehill, Nick Foles kind of guy.
Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate here because I do think that there was something to this rumor, and I do think the Patriots would still be interested if for no other reason than they drafted and developed him. And you could argue, well, they never would have traded him to the Niners if they really believed in him. But there are rumors out there that there was a conflict in the organization and the ownership wanted to trade him and Belichick wanted to keep him. And, you know, maybe Belichick and Josh McDaniels kind of like the idea of bringing him back. And the way I see it is if the rumors are true and they did try to get Garoppolo this offseason, the Niners said no. It seems to me what the Patriots did after that was sign a guy to a one-year deal. A guy that was hanging around and was available and any team could have had. I mean, it may work out with Cam Newton and he may be better and they may lock him up, but it seems like they kind of left their options open. And if Jimmy's available and Cam's kind of like, you know, Cam, they may say, hey, you know, John, we offered you a first last year. Now it's a second. What do you say? Now it's a third. Okay, what do you say? You know, there's too much nuance and just a lot of conjecture with this because this is also the same team that looked at Jared Stidham this year, and until they just realized they could get Tom, at least everybody who knows, like I don't know, I'm just listening to the people who know, and the people who know are connected with that organization said that they looked at Jared Stidham and said, that's our starting quarterback. We're moving forward with Jared Stidham before this Cam Newton opportunity presented itself. Yeah. So if they believe that much in Jared Stidham, why would they give up a high pick for a quarterback that his team wants to move off of him? His contract, while it's team friendly, it's still a large number. Yeah. And he seems to need some time to just re-find himself and reacclimate himself with who he is and what kind of a quarterback he is and just get his confidence back that way. Why would you give up anything for that? You're right. Okay, real quick before we move on, I want to figure out a destination for him because I don't think he's going to be on the Niners next year. And I don't think they're necessarily going to cut him either. So it seems to me if I'm brainstorming, then any coach who was with him in New England might be interested, who's been exposed to him before and saw him at 24, 25 and has that image in his mind. So right off the bat, I think Patricia. Not necessarily Flores. I mean, Flores just got a firsthand view of Jimmy Garoppolo now, and they got Tua. But Patricia, I mean, if he doesn't get fired, he's gonna get fired, right? So what's the point of even discussing him? So Bill O'Brien's fired. Patricia's gonna get fired.
Joe Judge.
Not Joe Judge, but they have Daniel Jones. I mean, could the Niners offer?
Look, the spot I see for him is the spot where you have a young quarterback who's struggling a little bit. Maybe the organization is not fully convinced on the young quarterback. You sign Jimmy Garoppolo as the backup, and if the quarterback fails, you try and salvage your season with Jimmy Garoppolo.
Would you trade Jimmy straight up for Daniel Jones?
The contracts, maybe. If I'm trading,
do you think the Giants would do it? I mean, the Giants are 0-5. Joe Judge inherited Daniel Jones.
They have a lot of problems. And while Daniel Jones might not be a top 10 quarterback, he's certainly not the problem there. He's proven that he deserves a shot next year too, in my opinion.
Okay. Let's switch gears and talk about Saleh. I reviewed my post-game rant, and I felt like I didn't critique Saleh hard enough. That defense gave up 43 points. So I have some specific things that I would tell him to his face in a respectful way that I would do differently, even though I'm not a defensive coordinator. But I certainly tell Kyle Shanahan what to do all the time, so I'm not going to hold back with Saleh. But before I say what I think I would have done different, what I know I would have done differently, I'd like to know what your critiques are of him because he really is the one with a lot of excuses.
So the funny thing with Kyle and Saleh is that I think we have contrasting opinions. I think you're extra
I'm Team Saleh.
Kyle,
yes,
and I'm extra critical on Saleh.
Yes,
and I'm very pro Kyle, and I guess I don't actually know if you're as pro Kyle Saleh as I am Kyle, but the perception is that you are more pro Saleh than I am pro Kyle.
Yes.
So sticking with that theme, I actually look. My big problem was it seemed like they were playing a lot of press man coverage, which is what they did the last 3 weeks. And the disconcerting thing to me is that Robert Saleh had allegedly, if true, had the same overreaction that millions of fans had, thinking that the Niners defense was a lot better than it actually is. The Jets, the Giants, and the Eagles don't have wide receivers or good offensive line play.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Dante Johnson doesn't get burned against them.
Right.
Like, look, Travis Fulgham played amazing versus Pittsburgh yesterday. Yeah. He had a great catch versus the 49ers, but he's not Julio Jones. Look, the rest of this schedule, if you try to play the same aggressive man coverage style that you played against those 3 teams, like, do you really think the Niners corners at their healthiest cannot cover Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp in man coverage?
No.
That's just a fact. No. There's not a lot of corners that can do that in the NFL. And the Niners don't have very good corners. So I did not understand the concept of playing that much man coverage. Look, I just watched the game on TV.
Right.
Maybe there was less.
Hasn't come out. We'll have to look and we'll be better informed. But this is just, I was there too. So if I saw something different, I'd correct you.
Right. And so that was the worrying thing. But honestly, it's I don't really find it. I don't want to criticize him. Look, this team was built. I think it goes back to roster construction. And the fact that this team is so overly reliant on Nick Bosa and Dee Ford. And without Nick Bosa and Dee Ford, all these holes all over this defense just get exposed.
Yeah. All right, let me give my criticism of Robert Saleh because I whiffed yesterday at the game. Now, he has no pass rush. That's not his fault. I mean, they had 1 sack, no sacks, 5 quarterback. I mean, they didn't have anything. So he has to blitz. That kind of dictates the coverages you have to call. I feel for him on that. But look, the first big play that Brian Allen gave up, do you remember what the coverage was?
Was it 2-man?
It was cover 3.
Cover 3?
Okay,
and he's first play of the game to Preston.
First play of the game. Okay, he's playing cover 3.
He didn't even get over the top of him.
Okay, so that's that. Right now, you're seeing the guy cannot play the basic coverage in our defense. So what I would say to Robert is, look, man, you do a great job at motivating your players and getting them to play hard, and developing good game plans. But when you're presented with something like this, where you may think you have Ahkello Witherspoon, and right before the game you got to go to Brian Allen, you have to have an emergency game plan where you don't let Brian Allen kill you. And it's how do you do that? Well, he showed you on the first play of the game he can't play deep third, so you can't call that. Okay, I know, and it's okay, well, that's our main coverage, but there's a really easy adjustment. Instead of calling cover 3, match, you call cover 3 cloud. It's the same coverage, except the players are distributed differently. Instead of having Brian Allen as a deep third defender, which he showed you on the first play he can't do, you put him in the flat. So if he does get beat, it's for a 10-yard gain and not a 50-yard gain. You have the safeties rotate over so that Jimmy Ward's playing deep third, Jaquiski Tartt's in the middle, and Jason Verrett's deep. I mean, that's a basic adjustment. And
it's something they've done before.
It's something they've done before. And I want to say I expect when I watch coach's film that it's something he did in this game. But what I would say is there were way too many examples where this guy was left man-to-man coverage. He should have been playing what I would have done, and maybe you get burned anyway. But when you go back and forth between cover 3 cloud and cover 2. Mm-hmm. That guy should always be in the flat. He should not be in man-to-man coverage. He should not be deep. He should be in the flat or blitzing, one of the two. So that's what I would say, Robert. And I would say it to him too. I respect you, but you have to show a better ability to adjust mid-game to protect a glaring weakness at cornerback, because I can count many times that you've lost games because of Greg Maben, or in this case, Brian Allen. You're too smart. You're too good of a coach, and you have too many other good players. You should be able to mask that. And we talked on the phone, you can't lose a game because of Brian Allen when you have a playmaker like Tavarius Moore on the bench. You got to get your best players on the field. And the fact that you're now 2-3 and Tavarius Moore has no role in this team, come on, find something.
Agreed. That was good where I was going to go. I think that he has to find a way to get his 11 best defensive players on the field. And I think a lot of that problem is now with K'Wan Williams on injured reserve. Look, Dre Greenlaw is one of your 8 best defensive players. Most NFL teams, the Rams run 11 personnel, even this year, 73% of the time. So if you're going to match up 11 personnel by going nickel, then guess who's not going to be on the field?
Quan Alexander.
No, Trey Greenlaw.
Trey Greenlaw, you're right.
Right. And so now it's not even close. He's way better at what he does than Jamar Taylor, than Brian Allen, than the Webster guy, than even Ahkello Witherspoon.
Yeah.
So my thing with that is you've got to find a way to get Drake,
your best players,
and Travarius Moore on the field, just because they're so much better than the guys that you have at this point as backups.
Yeah, you trotted out a practice squad guy and left a 3rd-round pick on the bench.
Right.
I mean, I saw in camp you experimented with him at nickel. He's played corner before. You should have cross-trained him at both places. And if you don't like what you saw from him there, because he did have like some holding penalties at corner, then put him at free safety and move Jimmy Ward over there, because Ward has experience playing that position. He's got a 3-year contract. I know he doesn't want to play that spot, but dude, do it for the team. You have long-term security.
Right. And he's definitely Jimmy Ward is one of their 5 or 6 best players on defense. And so Jimmy Ward is a good player. He's not having a great season this year, but he's still a good player. You have to put him out. You have to ask him to play corner, maybe they asked him and he said, "No, I won't play corner." Look, I don't know the details.
Yeah, we don't know. We just don't know.
Right. The point is that I wish they found a way to not be forced to play so many snaps with Brian Allen and Jamar Taylor.
Yeah. And I don't want to dump on Ahkello Witherspoon, but from what we understand, the reason they had to play Brian Allen is because Ahkello Witherspoon told the coaching staff that he felt tightness in his hamstring and was only available due to emergency. And the way I feel about that is like, I'm not in Ahkello Witherspoon's body, and I don't know, but I don't like it, because there were a lot of examples of players who played injured in that game because of what was at stake. And it seemed to me that Ahkello, he should have been either I can't play or I can play, not the in-between thing. Because he came out on the field and played well, and the defense basically was a lot better when he was out on it. So if I were a head coach, I would feel like he wasn't as sold out for the team as Raheem Mostert or anyone else who gutted it out. And that whole I don't want to play, but I will if I have to, is an attitude I don't like. And if Harbaugh was the head coach, another guy, we talked about Dante Pettis just kind of hanging around, lingering. If Harbaugh were the head coach, I don't think you'd have a player like Ahkello Witherspoon.
Yeah, I guess we could leave it at that, because I don't.
And the final thing, locally, there's a NBCSN Bay Area post-game show.
What Dante Whitner said.
Dante Whitner and Jeff Garcia. Apparently, Dante Whitner just lit into him. And again, that's the Harbaugh team. That's Vic Fangio. That's that standard. So it's an interesting perspective. We can move on from Ahkello. Last thing, we talked about this on the phone, and I think it's interesting. Like big picture. The roster construction for this year, what the Niners were hoping to accomplish by basically bringing back the same team as much as possible. So I don't know, we're critiquing John Lynch here. We're critiquing Lynch, Shanahan, Saleh, Parag, and Jed, the whole brain trust. What do you think of their plan for this season and how it's worked out?
Well, hindsight is real easy, right? It's really easy to look back and say it didn't work, and you can give a bunch of reasons like injuries and stuff. The thing is that we saw the best version of this exact roster plan, this exact roster construction in 2019. And look, whatever reasons you want to say, well, Garoppolo was the problem, this guy was the problem, that guy was the problem, this guy didn't do his job here, that guy didn't do his job here. It didn't happen. They didn't get it done. And it's not like you can just recreate this entire season the same exact way. We've seen it in football. It doesn't work like that. Yeah. Bringing back the same roster in that way and trying to do the same exact thing is what makes you lose in football. We've seen it year after year. That's why there's such a difference between the New England Patriot team this year and the New England Patriot team last year. And there's such a difference between the New England Patriot team last year and the New England Patriot team the year before. I mean, just look at it. The early Super Bowl teams were driven by what? Their front seven with Richard Seymour, Vince Wilfork, Teddy Bruschi, Willie McGinnis, all those guys. Yeah, they had great back-end players like Rodney Harris, they had Lawyer Malloy for a little bit, Ty Law, but they were driven by their front seven. Now, who are they driven by? Their secondary. They have 3 very good man coverage corners, and they play man across the board, and they have a bunch of different people who can do a bunch of different things. So the NFL is all about adapting. and moving on. And look,
and if you're stuck, then you end up like the Eagles.
Right. And what do you need? What do you need in order to reload your team in a different way? You need draft capital. Well, the Niners used all their draft capital to try and build the same exact team last year. So they traded their picks to get Brandon Ayuk, and they traded DeForest Buckner to get Javon Kinlaw. They lost a couple picks to get Emmanuel Sanders, and then they lost more picks to try and replace Emmanuel Sanders to get Brandon Ayuk.
True.
So they didn't have a lot of flexibility, and they put all their stock into one season where if this season continues to go in this direction, look, you move off of Jimmy Garoppolo, there's not much you can do at quarterback, right? It's not like you can just say, all right, Garoppolo's the problem and go to Nick Mullins or go to CJ Beathard. That's
boom, 12 wins. Boom.
Right.
Super Bowl. No, you're rebuilding now.
Right.
You're like rookie quarterback.
Right. And you have Tart, who's a free agent. Richard Sherman, who's a free agent. Kyle Juszczyk's a free agent. You have so many free agents. You don't have draft picks where you can just let all these guys walk and say, we'll draft, because you need 12, 13 draft picks to do that.
Yeah. You don't know how much cap space you're going to have. You don't know if you're going to be an attractive free agent destination if you're coming off a 4-win, a 6-win, a 7-win season. You don't know.
Right.
Who knows?
You have a big deal, mega deal that you have to do with Fred Warner. So
you're paying a tight end $15 million a year. Right. 4 catches on Sunday.
So you can't be a rebuilding team when you have 2 or 3 of the highest paid players at their position and 2 or 3 players who are elite at their position.
Yeah.
So then
you can't afford it. I mean, Kittle's 27 years old. You can't afford it. Yeah.
Right. So I just feel that there is a real question on how this team moves forward, and it's going to be real inconsistent. It's going to be really interesting on what they can do moving forward, because there are a lot of factors that they're not in control of that are affecting them at this moment.
Yeah. It's really interesting. They really tried to recreate a formula that didn't work. And what's interesting is they convinced themselves that it did work. That the revenge tour means we lost a fluke game. We should have won. We were the best team in the NFL. We proved it over a long period. We blew it for like 7 minutes. Those 7 minutes don't define us. It was a small sample. It was a fluke. We're still the best. And I think that's pretty much set the stage for everything we're seeing. That is not the mindset of a champion. That's not the mindset that propels you to the next Super Bowl. Right. Those are just the excuses a loser makes. And I'm sorry. I'm not saying they're losers, but they lost the Super Bowl and they handled it poorly, in my opinion.
Right. And the thing is, look, they had, what were their big roster question marks last year? Okay. The quarterback debate, okay, was it a problem? Was it not a problem? Let's throw that aside.
Interior offensive
line. What do you think that every other team was studying this year? The 49ers' weaknesses. How we can beat the 49ers. They walked out the same exact weaknesses with more injuries this year.
Yep. That's denial. That's terrible. And it's like the mandate is to always make your team better. You're getting better, you're getting worse, and the Niners tried to stay the same. And their whole mantra is you never stay the same.
Right. Kyle always quotes the John Gruden saying of, you either get better or you get worse. You never stay the same.
Yeah, well, they tried to stay the same and got worse.
Right. And it doesn't help that you have injuries everywhere.
All right.
Everywhere.
Okay, let's switch gears. You mentioned this earlier. I wrote it down, and I figured it'd be a good final topic before we take a couple questions. Although we have like 1,200 people watching right now, and the questions come fast. So if you find one you like, fine. But first, I have a question for you.
You mentioned ones previously.
Okay, well then we don't have to find. You can just remember, and we can talk about them. But you mentioned right off the bat that you're not like we've just been going on 45 minutes on how awful things are, how bleak things are. But the first thing you said was, look, they could win next week. They could beat the Rams. I'm not writing them off yet. They could bounce back. And I got to feel like the 49ers feel like they could bounce back too. I'm not saying they will, but they could. So what does that look like? What is that scenario where the 49ers, quote unquote, bounce back?
Well, I think it comes down. Look, the defense, I think the defense is not going to be anywhere close to as bad as yesterday because that was just pathetic. But they're not going to be the defense that you saw versus the Giants, the Jets, or the Eagles.
No, but they should be functional if they get like Sherman or Mosley back. One of the two.
They'll be pretty good.
They'll be fine. Yeah, they'll be fine.
They'll be whatever.
They'll be mediocre.
All right. It's not a bad defense. It's okay.
No. Yeah.
It's not going to be the Cowboys. That's pathetic.
No. It'll be like they'll give up like 23 points a game, ranked 15th, 16th. Yeah.
Right.
Got it.
Right.
Yeah.
But the offense, look, you still got that bad man calling plays. He's still that guy calling plays. Exactly, is he that guy? Is he still that guy? I mean, I know you still have questions. I still believe in him. He's got one more week where I'm going to stay believing in him like this. And he can still cook up a game plan next week. We know he's capable of it. We know he can do it. Where, look, as bad as the quarterback play has been, it's not going to be better. But he can still do it where he can hide the quarterback and find ways to get the ball to Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, and Deebo Samuel. Raheem Mostert played as hard as anybody yesterday. You look great.
Run the ball.
Right. And he can
run the ball.
Him and Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel, they both can still get it done. Yes. So let's wait till we see next week. Let's see what they do against the Rams. That's a division game. It's on Sunday night. Hopefully they're hyped up. Hopefully they're ready to play because they weren't ready to play the last 2 weeks. And so if they are, then they still have an opportunity to move the season along.
I'm with you on that. It seems to me that they're 2-3 and the offense has no identity and just scored only 17 points. But when you look at their numbers, they're averaging 5 yards per carry. Their top 2 running backs are having terrific years. And although the offensive line is struggling, it's performing well enough in the run game for these guys to average 5 yards a carry. So if Kyle Shanahan could just get back to his identity and I know it sounds so cliche and so passe, but like establish the run game, do it early in the game, get 10 carries in the first quarter.
Do not drop him back with the way Aaron Donald's playing.
Exactly. Honestly, they could come out and run for 200 yards against the Rams. I thought they should have been able to do that against the Dolphins. If they're committed and they make it their priority to run 30 times and to impose their will, I think they could do it too. So look, the main thing as a Niner fan that you should be encouraged about is, look, no one's stopping the run game. Shanahan stopping the run game. If maybe 3 losses at home will be enough for him to figure out, all right, let's go back to last year where I pull out all the trick plays, the end arounds, the Army offense, and just run the ball 40 times. I don't see why not. It seems like they can do it, especially if they're going against, well, the bad teams are in the past, but they can do it.
Real quick. Someone in the comments section brought up that was the plan versus the Dolphins, but then they gave up three quick TDs. And we talked about this on the phone, so let's touch on it real quick, what we both said then. So I told that to Grant, and Grant's point was I watched the NFC Championship game at Atlanta. He said he was there, and he saw Frank Gore walk up to Jim Harbaugh when it looked like things were going to be when that
21-0
crazy. It looked like it was going to be a blowout. Julio Jones had one of the greatest first quarters in playoff history.
Yep.
And Frank Gore said, "It's okay, calm down, let's run the football." And they ran the football, and they won, and they ended up winning that game. And look, I think that is a valid point from Grant that they should stick with the run. But
before we move on, what was important about what they did is that they had confidence in their identity and didn't panic and didn't give up on it in the first half of the biggest game of their lives.
Right.
They said, you know what? We believe in ourselves. We have confidence that we can win our way. And they did. When Shanahan gives up on his run game in the second quarter against the Dolphins, who are 1-3, it's like, dude, you should have more confidence.
Right.
Kittle's on the field, Juszczyk's on the field, Mostert's on the field. Give him a chance. Okay, keep going.
And to be fair, I did make one counterpoint to Grant that he also agreed with, that there was a bad man as the defensive coordinator for the 49ers at the time. And if you remember, during that time, I think before the Super Bowl, he shut out the Packers in the second half and he shut out the Falcons in the second half because he made a lot of adjustments. Now, Robert Saleh is still young. He's still growing. Yeah. But adjustments don't seem to be the guy's forte. So
Fangio was the master. That guy was like Splinter in Ninja Turtles. I don't know if Ninja Turtles were before your time, but Splinter was like the karate master. I mean, that was kind of Fangio. He'd seen everything. He was brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's still
Yep. Absolutely. All right. So those are all our topics. If you see a question you want to answer or a topic that
they've been rolling them in. We just got to go find them.
All right.
Let me know if you see anything.
Well, here's one. Shanahan is not West Coast. Pass to set up, run is wrong. Yeah, he's East Coast. Yeah. He's run to set up, pass. And against the Eagles, he came out passing. Against the Dolphins, he came out running, but abandoned it quickly. Yeah, I mean, the identity is the run first.
The essence of this offense, like, yeah, they have the quick passing game because he worked with John Gruden and all of that, but he really wants to run the football to set up shots. That's why he likes Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins stands in the pocket tough and can throw a deep ball. He wants to go deep play action and take shots. The difference between Matt Ryan 2016 and Matt Ryan 2017, look it up. Matt Ryan worked on his deep ball. He talked about how he worked on his deep ball, and his relationship with Kyle improved.
I mean, honestly, if you're going to be a quick passing offense, you should be a shotgun offense. What is the advantage of being under center if the ball's going to come out in a second and a half?
Right.
You're just turning your back. You're closer to the offensive line. Someone could step on your foot. Someone could knock your ball down. If you're, I mean, they turned basically, it's like New England from under center. They should just be in the shotgun if that's what you are.
Yeah. And what does Beathard do? Like, why do you think he likes Beathard? He's tough and he throws a deep ball.
That's what he did at Iowa. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's a feathery deep ball. He doesn't throw with a ton of arm strength on. No, I mean, but he has the nice trajectory, like the tip. Yeah, I mean, it's a good deep, although it's not accurate. It has the right distance. But when he called some shots for Beathard yesterday, and he missed wildly. Because you know what? He stinks. I'm tired of CJ Beathard. I was like, hey, maybe in his 11th start. No, I mean, real quick, what'd you see from CJ Beathard yesterday? Am I being too hard on him?
Yeah, I think you're being too hard on him. Look, again, you're watching the game there. Dude, watching the game on TV, it looked like they were pattern matching every route in man coverage, which is a Patriots special. They pattern match better than everybody, and it seemed like they were ready for everything. Every throw seemed like, one, they got pressure on him, and two, every throw seemed to be contested. And look, there were a couple of holding calls and a couple of phantom holding calls on number 40 on the Dolphins that saved the Niners a little bit. Otherwise, it could have gotten a little ugly. Yeah. So I think you're being hard on Beathard. I mean, Beathard is what he is, and I don't think he could have succeeded in that game yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, behind this offensive line, you really need a guy who can – you need Russell Wilson. You need Russell Wilson.
Yeah, you need a top 5 quarterback.
You need a top 5 quarterback.
Right. Or the best quarterback.
The best quarterback. There's a lot of questions.
Ooh. People are firing today.
Do you guys think Shanahan coaches Jimmy at all? Do you think he ever tells him to step into the throw or just belittles him? Do you think Saleh ever tells the line about gap integrity? I don't know. That's a tough one. Yeah. I think they probably tell him.
If I was in the building, I feel like I could tell you all these things. But then if I was in the building and I was telling you these things, I'd get fired.
Thoughts on Trey Lance?
I haven't watched enough. The one time I watched, I didn't think he was as impressive as his numbers said. He is big. He does have a pretty good arm. He seems to be athletic. So we'll see. I'll probably try and watch a little bit more of him when we get closer to the draft, especially if the Niners are in the quarterback market. You bet I'll be looking at all of them.
How about Dak?
I like Dak Prescott a lot. I think Dak Prescott's a really good quarterback. I don't think there's any way, especially after yesterday, that they will let him out of Dallas.
Oh, interesting. I wasn't expecting that. You think they'll find a way to keep him now? His price just went down.
People, I thought this point has been made earlier. I've seen it around Twitter by a lot of other people, and I think it's a very valid one. If you just saw the way people reacted to Dak Prescott getting hurt, it tells you what a special person he is. And look, Jerry Jones, it might be bad, but you can't let a guy that special out of your organization.
Okay, I got questions for you. Let's get back to the topic of who could possibly replace Jimmy, because I think that's what people want to talk about.
Yeah.
Like, people are mad at Jimmy, and they're over Jimmy. So we've talked about
someone's saying Marcus Mariota, please, not Marcus.
No, what I wanted to ask you, so a lot of people have been saying Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is the name that's popping up the most. What do you think about Sam Darnold?
Darnold's super interesting, right? Because the physical tools, like, there's enough plays. There's always that one play from Sam Darnold every
Trubisky or Darnold, who would you rather have?
I'd say Darnold.
Okay.
There's more wow plays with Darnold to me.
Okay.
There's one play every game with Darnold where you go, wow. Now, there's also 5 plays that conveniently get blamed on Adam Gase or the receivers or somebody where they're just terrible. There are 5 plays like that.
I think I'd rather have Trubisky.
Okay,
I think he's a better athlete. I think he runs better.
Fair.
I think he runs better. I don't know. But that, I mean, that's it. I mean, Trubisky needs a therapist. Like Trubisky needs a guy like Harbaugh to be like, you're good, you're good, you're good. And even that might not be enough. But you know what I'm saying? Like he's been broken. So
he has.
So, yeah.
So going back to Darnold.
Yeah.
So there are enough plays that make you go, wow. My thing with Darnold, though, is this is not a system where you can just get a young quarterback who's been through a pretty tragic situation with the Jets and just bring him over here and start him immediately, and he'll be comfortable with this system. I think Darnold might need 1 year where you sit him, you get his confidence back, especially if the way things are going with the Jets continues. You make sure he's not taking hits. You let him learn the system. So I think a place like Pittsburgh with an aging quarterback that can take a chance on him, that would be better off for him. Because throwing him into the fire here in San Francisco,
how does that help him?
Yeah, it'll be just as tough for him. Yeah.
See, to me, the best option is if the Niners just happen to go 6-10, because I mean, look. No, I got another topic. Is it possible that the Niners were 1 year wonders? And I know that's a loaded term, but look at last year. I mean, a lot of things went their way. Their schedule that they went through. I mean, first game they faced a backup quarterback. Second game they faced a backup quarterback. Third game they faced Freddie Kitchens. Fourth game they faced a backup quarterback. Right?
No, I mean the schedule was
broke well. This has been different. And if they go 6-10, then all of a sudden they're a 1-win season out of 4 squad and looking to replace their quarterback. So what are we seeing here? What is this?
Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
What brings sustained success in the NFL?
What is sustained success? In the NFL, I think that looks like
it's that simple. If you have a good quarterback, you're going to be good for 8 years. If you don't, you're not.
Yeah. Okay.
So are they a 1 year wonder? Well, then
maybe Jimmy was a 1 year wonder.
Not that guy.
Yeah. All right.
Look, fair. I thought Tennessee was maybe not as good as they were last year, but they started these 3 games well. They have a clear identity. They have a solid defense. And clearly Ryan Tannehill is not just an average guy now. He's a little better than average. He's pretty good.
Yeah. Their biggest problem is COVID at this point, at this juncture.
That's a bigger problem. But
yeah, but we can't. I mean, what are you going to do? So let's see if we had any other questions. I don't know. I like Trubisky, but that guy needs like some one hell of a coach.
Right.
Like, you would need like the ultimate quarterback whisperer because
he to me, I don't know. I've only seen him a lot in the NFL. And obviously, I live around Chicago, so
right.
I know
you would know better. Yeah.
Right. So he's on TV every game for me. I just don't think he's ever had that confidence, that self-confidence that you need to be a great player in the NFL.
That's fair. I mean, the guy only started 1 year in college. I mean, he had a good year at North Carolina, but he wasn't. I mean, he didn't have like a Baker Mayfield career. Yeah, it's fair. It seemed like he just had a very fragile confidence, and having Deshaun Watson and Mahomes blow up was just too much. You know, that'll hang over him the rest. But that's why I compare him to Alex Smith.
He trapped himself over them.
That's why I compare him to Alex Smith. Like, he can run. He got drafted by a bad organization. He had this thing about Aaron Rodgers hanging over him. I don't know if he'll be able to turn his career around the way Alex Smith did, but Smith owes something to Harbaugh. I wonder if what's that?
Alex Smith
was very smart. Is Trubisky not? I don't know.
I don't know if he's not smart, but
he's not like that.
From all accounts, Alex Smith's intellect is like genius.
Off the charts.
Yeah,
he's like, and his ability to sort of go through coverages and stuff before this, not coverages, but like read a defense for the snap is almost Peyton Manning level.
Yeah.
So
he graduated college at 20. I know how hard that is.
Yeah, that's impossible. I couldn't have done that. No.
Someone asked about my guy, Matthew Stafford. So let's talk.
Oh yeah. Go ahead.
So look, Matthew Stafford.
Also, I want you to explain your pattern and theory that you've seen with these pocket quarterbacks, from Darnold to Haskins recently. But start with Stafford.
I think he's a guy that gets too much flack, whether it's from media or fans in general. Mm-hmm. Look, the guy is one of the most physically gifted quarterbacks that I've ever seen in my lifetime. The arm is ridiculous. He's athletic. Like all these sidearm throws and off-platform throws that have become very popular today. Matthew Stafford was doing in 2011. People were calling that unconventional and not by the book quarterback play, you know. And now it's the new thing in town. If you can't throw off platform, then you're screwed.
Yes.
Like you'll be like Nick Mullins versus the Eagles.
Yes.
Right. So
yes. you need an increased level of athleticism across the board at quarterback.
The only question mark for me with Matthew Stafford is the injuries. The guy, to me, yeah, he had Calvin Johnson and he's had some decent weapons there. Like Galladay is pretty good. Marvin Jones is okay. They had a span with Brandon Pettigrew, who was fine, all of that. But the offensive line play in Detroit has not been good his entire career. He's always taken a lot of hits. The play calling has been very mediocre. I mean, put him with Kyle.
Honestly, he fits the Shanahan profile perfectly.
Put him
really good quarterback who's been asked to do too much and given nothing.
My bad. Go ahead.
Oh, my bad. No, I'm like he is the Shanahan quarterback. I mean, it's kind of like, you know, weak organization, no defense, no running game, some weapons, but it's like, hey, drop back 50 times and wins, Matt. It's
right.
Well, okay. Yeah.
Right. And drop back and you have to throw 40-yard lasers down the field every other play. Yeah, he's going to make a couple of bad decisions because if he doesn't throw the ball 40 times and they're not all big-time throws, they're losing by 40.
Right.
Put him with Kyle and his job will be a lot easier, and I think he'll be a lot better. And then
give him that run game, give him that play-action game. Yeah.
Right. And the other thing with Matthew Stafford is, look, the Lions, they've sucked my entire lifetime. He was drafted to an 0-16 Lions. Besides a few years with Jim Caldwell, which now look like Super Bowl years with the way Matt Patricia has done and all of that, they've just been perpetually pathetic. They're a horrible franchise. I mean, they have not given Matthew Stafford much support or much around him. I think you put him on a team like the 49ers and you give him a chance to play with a guy like Kyle, I think you can change his career.
Yeah, and the thing is, it seems like it's somewhat not realistic, but possible because, again, Patricia's probably going to get fired. That team could be in a position to draft a quarterback. You bring in a new coach who might want his own guy who's 21 instead of 32. Yeah, it could make sense, right?
Yeah, right.
It could make sense.
Right. Yeah. And then there's two comments coming in. One guy said Matthew Stafford wasn't doing nothing with Calvin Johnson. Well, it was just him and Calvin Johnson.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole point. Just like in Atlanta where it was just Matt Ryan and Julio Jones. And what does Kyle do? He brings everything else.
Right.
The whole thing.
Right. Well, Matt Ryan's not doing anything with Julio Jones. Well, that's not Matt Ryan's fault.
No, you need a full team. You need a whole complement.
Unless you're Russell Wilson. And even Russell Wilson's got a super freak with him now.
And they have a run game. They make a point of having a run game. It's important to them.
Right.
They don't
and then before we go to the next topic, someone just asked, why don't we get someone more mobile like RG3? The guy doesn't have to be a runner per se. He doesn't have to be the super freak like Kyler Murray. He just has to be able to move and ad lib and have a read option threat and be able to throw off platform. And Matthew Stafford, in my opinion, brings all those things. Now, the other example, the guy with the giant cap hit that people have suggested is Matt Ryan. He doesn't have that type of mobility. So maybe he wouldn't be an option, but I don't think his contract would allow him to be an option anyway.
No. Justin Herbert's a good example. With Justin Herbert, which it's interesting that he ended up being the third pick in the draft because to me, that's the product. What's that? The third quarterback in the draft. Yeah, I mean, he dropped to 7, 8, 6.
And everybody ripped the Chargers for taking him.
To me, he should have been the first pick in the draft. And to me, in the future, if you're looking for quarterbacks with that skill set, I mean, nothing against Burrow and Tua. I'm looking for the guy who has that kind of athleticism, and I'm not weighing their experience in the SEC as highly.
He's a stud, but I'd stick to Joe Burrow. I love
Fair enough. I could be wrong on that one. I'm just saying how I'm thinking about quarterbacks right now. I want Carson Wentz, Josh Allen, Josh Herbert, Justin Herbert, not Josh. Josh Herbert, I would not draft. All right. Let's explain because look, I mean, like the paradigm is shifting with drafting quarterbacks. I mean, a couple of years ago, everyone felt the consensus was Darnold and Rosen. Like these guys can't miss. Remember, like all offseason was like suck for Darnold, suck for Rosen, and then it didn't work out that way. Yeah. So what are you seeing from these guys like Rosen, Darnold, Haskins last few years?
Darnold doesn't really fit in this category because he is pretty athletic. And actually, I think he's best playing football backyard style where he's got a little athlete to him and you'll make a couple guys miss and throw but Rosen, And I think Jimmy actually falls a little bit in this category, though I think he moves a lot better in the pocket than Rosen and Haskins. I don't think there's a place for pretty throwing pocket passers anymore.
No.
Like, yeah, you can have a great motion. You can stand in with look at the guy that was drafted in the 4th round, Jacob Eason.
Yeah.
15 years ago, Jacob Eason would have been the first pick in the draft.
That's right.
6'6", that kind of arm.
Yeah, it's a Stafford arm, dude. It's huge. Yeah,
it's a pure motion.
Yes, but he can't move.
Right, he can't move at all. Best player in high school.
Yeah,
but there's no place for that kind of quarterback anymore, and the teams are not willing to give them time to sit and see a lot of defensive books and learn their system and learn the nuances of, if I see this defense, this is what I need to do with my offense. These are the reads I need to get to. This is where I need to throw. There's no longer time.
It takes years, and it helps to be in the same offense the whole time. Coaches get fired too much.
Right, and even Peyton Manning back in the day threw 28 interceptions in his rookie season, but he's still Peyton Manning, and you still would give time, right? Yeah. There's no time for that anymore. You're looking to draft a playmaker where the coach takes their offense from college, and he takes his offense, and he takes their college offense and simplifies it into his offense, right? And he gives them a lot of what they're comfortable with, and it's just, don't think, go be a playmaker.
And it works. And you win it 13 games with a quarterback who's making making maybe $1 million a year, and you're a contender. Yeah, it works. I mean, look at the Bills.
Yeah, Brian Daboll needs to be in that whatever head coaching job conversation. He needs to be there with Eric Bieniemy. I think he's done an amazing job.
I'm curious to see if the NFL will figure it out, that like the next. Trevor Lawrence is going to.
They figured it out, right?
They figured it out, right? I mean, that you want the guy like Josh Allen. You don't want the guy like Josh Rosen,
right? And
I guess the Bills figured that out. They had their choice. They could have had Rosen,
right?
They ain't stupid.
Which comes back to the question in the 20. Let me ask you this, Grant. Who do you think the Niners take in the 2018 draft in the case that they didn't get Jimmy and they had to pick a quarterback?
They would have taken Josh Allen.
You think they would have taken Josh Allen?
I do. I know we talked about this before. We both talked about Lamar Jackson, and I know he fits more with the short passing game that they've adopted because of Jimmy. But as you said, Shanahan wants to call shots, and I think Allen has more of the arm for that than Lamar Jackson. Although maybe I'm wrong with that. Maybe Lamar is actually a little bit more accurate deep than I just think of Josh Allen and that huge arm and the ability to throw on the run.
So I think it would have been Darnold. I do think it would be Darnold.
Dang. Well, Chris Sims wouldn't have liked that pick.
No, and I do think there might have been a little love for Rosen too, because if you forget how their careers have turned out so far. When they were coming out of the draft, Rosen was kind of the prototype for this particular offense. Great motion,
and the film grinders loved him. The PFF guys loved him.
Yeah, well, I mean, what's his best route? The deep post is the best route he used to throw was the deep post. So he had a good deep ball. He's a really good thrower. So maybe, but listening to the way Shanahan talked about Darnold before the Jets game, I think it would have been Darnold.
Fair enough. Because again, Shanahan doesn't seem to care about mobility at all. He seems to be a little bit like stuck in the past, like 5 years ago. And so from his perspective, maybe Darnold is exactly what he wants. Just athletic enough to get out on the edge and throw.
I mean, Darnold's a lot more athletic than Jimmy, CJ, or Nick.
That's true. I mean, that touchdown throw he had. Yeah, that touchdown throw he had rolling to his left at the end of the Niner game was something that Jimmy doesn't do. That was nice.
I've not seen, maybe Colin Kaepernick is the only quarterback I've seen make a throw that ridiculous. Like the Anquan Bolden rainbow jump pass rolling to his left that Saint against the Rams. That
was amazing.
That was one of the best throws I've ever seen.
So what you're saying is Darnold is a possibility. He's a possibility.
I think that maybe.
All right. Well,
look. Well, again, it comes if they don't have a rebuilding team. Why would you get a rebuilding quarterback?
Yeah,
that's the confusing part. So it's super interesting on where they move and how they're going to.
If they get Darnold, is he better than Goff?
I don't know.
I don't think much of Goff. I mean, Goff has a good arm.
Goff is like the easiest target because his rookie season was so pathetic. He's not really an impressive human being.
Not a great athlete.
Because Sean McVay by all accounts, tells him who to throw the football to at the line of scrimmage. But
Right.
I'll give you one positive about Goff that I don't think people talk about enough. He throws a great deep ball.
He does. When he has time to throw, wow.
He can sling
what
it.
an arm.
I mean, did
guy.
we just forget the 2018 Minnesota game? How many big-time throws were in that game?
Baseball player.
Goff is a good thrower.
Easy. Yeah, he's great thrower. He's just, when you get bodies around him,
Yeah, and
he's
just not athletic enough.
Right, and that's my problem. So I guess Darnold would be more athletic than him.
Yeah, but Goff is strung together. Last year was a bad year, but
he's playing well now.
Year, a pretty good second year, a very good third year, and now in his fifth year, he's also having another good year.
That's the thing. Like, Niners analysts and fans really look down our noses at the Rams, like Jared Goff, like Sean McVay, but they've actually had a level of consistency that has escaped the 49ers. I mean, last year was a down year. They went 9-7. I mean, the Niners could use a down year like that. I mean, this is a down year that could be 4-12. That's
right. Yeah. They also rip the other guy in the Bay, and I don't think he's as bad as everybody says.
Who?
Derek Carr. He's all right.
He's not in the Bay anymore. He's out of here, buddy.
Oh,
he's in Vegas.
Yeah, they're in Vegas now, right? But he's all right to me. He's not.
He's
bad.
all right. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the leg injury really hurt him. I think he lost his confidence there.
Yes.
But
I think there's a lot of carryover between him and Jimmy, man. A lot.
Yeah, but he's more talented physically than Jimmy.
Yep. But the carryover would be got hurt, lost a little confidence, and they have coaches who can be brutal.
Yeah, Derek Carr has a one-season sample size of playing at an MVP level. I'm still waiting for that from a 49ers quarterback.
Oh, Vish with the perspective. We're about an hour and 15 minutes in, and Shanahan's going to talk in about an hour. I kind of got to get ready for that, unless there's another question that you see that you want to touch on real quick.
Yeah, let me look. This has been good.
Yeah. We got a massive audience now that I started putting these on YouTube live. We got 1,100 people watching. Appreciate it.
Oh, you have people watching on YouTube too.
Yeah, so we got 1,100 watching. We got a massive auditorium of people thirsting for our Niner knowledge, or just writing a bunch of comments. Thanks, Robert. What we got?
QB isn't the problem is a question that I feel like we've addressed.
Yeah.
Not the only problem.
No, there's a lot of problems there.
Question. I like this one. If Bosa had gone, would Kyle have debated taking Kyler?
Oh, yeah. We were just talking about this on the phone earlier.
Yeah.
This is the last one. What do you think?
I'm going to say no.
He wouldn't have taken Kyler.
They said in their 2018 draft that their quarterback room was real strong. Yeah. They had two very solid number 3 quarterbacks and a guy who's, I guess, an okay starting quarterback. Starting quarterback. So, yeah, it was a strong room of 3 very, very guys who play when they play their best football are okay.
I can't think of a quarterback that Shanahan would want less than Kyler Murray. He seems like the opposite of what he looks for. His size is an issue if you're going to put him under center all game. I mean, it's not an issue in the gun. It is an issue under center. And the fact that he's an ad-libber and by nature is like what Shanahan is looking to avoid.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think he would have taken Kyler Murray. If Bosa had gone first, the Niners would have taken Josh Allen. Yeah. And I like Josh Allen.
Murray, look, Kyler Murray is so physically gifted, right? But you also there's also a part of letting Kyler Murray be Kyler Murray, right?
Right.
Like Andy Reid lets Patrick Mahomes be Patrick Mahomes. Like there's times when maybe Patrick Mahomes missed the guy on the read and he got out of the pocket too soon and all of that. But then he throws like a 65-yard deep ball on a rope to Tyreek Hill, and you're okay with that if you're the coach. Well, we don't know if Kyle will. We don't know. I'm not going to say he is or he would or wouldn't let Kyler Murray not be Kyler Murray, but we don't know that.
He won't let Jimmy be.
Yeah, right.
I mean, Kyle you got to play the position how he wants it played, and that's what he likes about Kirk is willing to follow instructions.
Right.
What do they call it? Staying on schedule. That's how Shanahan. That's his phrase. I want people who stay on schedule. Okay. All right.
He wants a guy who's going to execute his offense. And yeah, Kirk Cousins can execute an offense pretty perfectly. But even if he's executing an offense perfectly, he's still, again, we touched it. At his best, he's like the 8th or 9th or 10th best quarterback in the NFL.
Look, Shanahan has to do one of two things. He needs to either get a mobile quarterback or get way better offensive linemen. One of the two.
Where are you going to get better offensive line play?
I mean,
who's playing good in the NFL is an offensive line. I'm seriously wondering.
Is that the Saints have made a point of emphasis of drafting an offensive lineman in the first round every year for the last 4 or 5. They would have to go from taking a defensive tackle and D end every year to really taking an offensive lineman. Guards in the first round, centers in the first round. That's what you have to do. Otherwise, you need a quarterback who can move.
Yeah, real quick. I liked what someone put in the comments section. They said, I swear if he goes after Kirk again, I'm going to low-key want Kyle gone. I'm going to have to agree with that because, Kirk Cousins, because of his personality, is just one of my least favorite, players in the NFL. I wish he would be more confident and more outwardly brash, or at least carry himself. Look at Dak Prescott. You like that guy just because of the way he carries himself. He's tough. He's durable. He's a great leader. He always says the right things. Kirk Cousins is publicly 4 games into the season of apologizing to Adam Thielen. I would not want that as my quarterback. That's rough. That's depressing.
It's depressing. That's a coach's quarterback, not a player's quarterback.
Right. And when he's apologizing to Adam Thielen publicly, then you think, oh, we can't win a Super Bowl with this guy.
No, agree. So Kyle, you're listening. Don't go after Kirk when you make your big move next year.
Just hit up Grant. He'll tell you who to go after, and then do.
Yeah, you are gonna owe me a nickel. That's my rate. We're on a retainer. All right, I got to get ready for the Kyle Shanahan press conference and get my questions in order. Vish, thanks again for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. Of
course, and we'll be back next Monday when Vish's school schedule allows. So see you next Monday. Take care.
All right, see you guys.